Chinese oil tanker has just been attacked near Hormuz, and Iran's senseless blockade has hit exactly one of the ties still propping up Tehran. This Friday, May 8, 2026, Beijing confirmed that an oil tanker with a Chinese crew was attacked in the Strait of Hormuz region. The partner that kept buying Iranian oil now finds itself at the center of the crisis that the regime itself ignited. The ship was on the sea route near the Gulf, in an area where cargo ships, oil tankers, and commercial vessels attempt to pass through amid growing risk, while Iran turns a vital passage into a zone of pressure, extortion, and fear. I'll tell you all about it in a moment, but right now, you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the best journalistic quality you've ever seen. Milson Alves, setting the standard for credibility. Maritime security sources cited by Royce. They pointed out that the damaged ship would be the JV Innovation, flying the flag of the Marshall Islands, a tanker carrying petroleum products and chemicals that reported fire on deck to other vessels. On Monday, May 4th, near Mina Sakr, off the coast of the United Arab Emirates, Chinese media Caixin reported that the tanker had the China owner crew mark, making it clear that it was not just any ship lost in traffic. It was a vessel directly linked to Chinese interests. What they were doing there was simple. They were sailing through one of the most sensitive trade routes in the world, amid the blockade, threats, and confusion created by Tehran. Beijing reacted with deep concern because there were Chinese citizens on board. The spokesperson Lin Jian confirmed that so far there are no fatalities among the crew members, but that does not lessen the gravity of the incident. The greater damage at this moment is strategic. The attack revealed that the Iranian blockade lost control over its own target. Instead of pressuring only Tehran's adversaries, the crisis reached an essential buyer of Iranian oil, namely China, which continued significant purchases even under pressure from the United States. And then the situation becomes serious for Iran. Data from Kepler, cited by Reuters, shows that China bought more than 80% of the oil shipped in 2025, with an average of 1.38 million barrels per day. This volume represented about 13.4% of all the oil that China imported by sea that year. In other words, Tehran did not just hit a foreign vessel on a tense route. The crisis reached the customer, who helps keep money flowing into the Iranian regime, while much of the international market avoids this oil because of American sanctions. The attack also took place before a sensitive meeting in Beijing between Wang Yi, China's foreign minister, and Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister. The meeting was about reopening the strait. The message to Beijing was bitter. While China was trying to negotiate a way out, a ship linked to its interests was hit in the vicinity of Hormuz. This deepens Iran's diplomatic embarrassment because the nation that buys most of its oil now needs to demand security from those who should guarantee safe passage. The Iranian blockade also gained an element of extortion. The United States Department of the Treasury warned shipping companies against paying tolls to Iran to cross Hormuz, including payments disguised as donations or transfers through indirect means. Reuters reported that Tehran proposed fees on vessels passing through the strait, and that such payments could lead to sanctions. This attempt to turn an international route into a toll booth shows why the blockade backfired on Iran itself. Instead of appearing strong, it started to look like financial desperation, posing a direct risk to buyers, insurers, ship owners, and crew members. The scale of the crisis is bigger than a single ship. According to Reuters, the confrontation between the United States and Iran has left hundreds of vessels and about 20,000 seafarers trapped inside the Gulf. For Iran, the same scenario increases isolation, because even economic partners are starting to feel the real cost of its maritime gamble. Tension grew even more because the United States and Iran exchanged fire again, while Washington was waiting for a response from Tehran to an American proposal to halt the fighting. U.S. Central Command stated that Iranian forces launched missiles, drones, and small boats against U.S. destroyers, and that the threats were neutralized. The Trump administration maintained the position that the United States is not seeking unnecessary escalation, but is ready to protect its forces and commercial routes. At this point, the pressure shifts. The Iranian blockade no longer appears just as maritime blackmail, but as a factor that puts China, the United Arab Emirates, South Korea, and other Asian importers in the same predicament. Another new development has further damaged Iran's standing. Iran also announced the seizure of the ocean koi, now called Jinli, in the Gulf of Oman. Reports based on Iranian state media indicate that a ship linked to a Shanghai-based company was carrying Iranian oil and was taken to the southern coast of Iran. Accused of trying to harm the regime's own exports, the scene is embarrassing. Within a few days, a Chinese ship is attacked near Hormuz, and another ship with Chinese ties is seized by Iran itself. For Beijing, this raises an uncomfortable question. If Iranian oil already depends so much on China, why is Tehran making the route more dangerous precisely for those who are still buying? The impact doesn't stop with China. South Korea received a tanker this Friday with 1 million barrels of oil that had passed through Hormuz in mid-April. AP reported that Seoul relies heavily on oil from the Middle East and that in 2025 more than 60% of the crude oil imported by South Korea passed through the strait. The same report pointed out that half of South Korea's naphtha also came through this route. This data shows why the attack on the Chinese oil tanker scares other nations. When Hormuz fails, it's not just Tehran that feels the weight. Refineries, chemical industries, transportation, and fuel prices are all affected. History has already shown that using maritime passages as a weapon usually comes at a high price for those who pull the political trigger. In 1956, Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal and put one of the main routes of world trade at the center of an international crisis. The reaction involved Israel, the United Kingdom, and France, sparked a direct dispute over navigation control, and led the United States to push for a ceasefire and withdrawal. Iran now faces this risk in Hormuz, but with one crucial difference. The political victim this time is not just a declared adversary, but China, its largest buyer of shipped oil. Another example came in 1967 when Egypt's closure of the Straits of Tiran to Israeli vessels helped push the region into the Six-Day War. The United States Department of State records that Israel launched a preemptive attack in response to the closure of the passage. After the withdrawal of peacekeeping forces and the Egyptian mobilization in Sinai, the lesson is not to copy history, but to understand the pattern. Maritime blockades in sensitive areas rarely remain confined to the narrative of those who impose them. They trigger alliances, markets, naval forces, insurers, importers, and governments that do not accept seeing a vital route become the political property of a regime in crisis. Now, the next move involves three fronts. Beijing is likely to demand protection for its citizens and ships, even without publicly breaking with Tehran. Washington has more justification to maintain naval pressure, increase escorts, and take a tougher stance against Iranian demands in Hormuz. And Asian buyers are starting to calculate routes, stockpiles, and insurance risk with more urgency. The attack on the Chinese oil tanker did not kill any crew members, according to available information, but it did damage confidence in the Iranian regime as a reliable supplier. For Tehran, this is the most dangerous point. I am Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed by bringing you the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.